Alright. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to everyone. I am Zihran Irfan Unal, and I will be your MC for today's event. I feel privileged to extend my warm greetings to the speaker for today's event, Dr. Ridhwan Fontaine. I would also like to happily welcome all the attendees who are present today for this session. Before we proceed with today's event, let us all begin with the recitation of Kitab al-Fatiha. Alright. In this webinar session, you will be briefed and introduced to the new BBA course that has been added, which is MGT 4331, Big Data for Managers. Without further ado, please allow me to humbly welcome Dr. Ridwhan Fontaine to begin the session. Please welcome.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Assalamualaikum wabarakatuh. So, first of all, thank you to everybody for joining. Being a lecturer, I have prepared a PowerPoint. The plan for this course is... Okay, the plan for this course is to really help you guys get your first job. That's really the core idea. When we started, so this is 2 or 3 years ago when big data started to become a big thing, we realized that this was going to be very necessary for our students, right? More and more, if you get a degree and in that, for example, in the transcript, you can say that you have done a course on big data, definitely it's more likely that companies will at least invite you to come to the interview. Now, of course, you may be invited to the interview and you don't do well in the interview, but at least that big data course will enable you to stand out. Now, actually, if you think about it, as lecturers, we will talk about new technologies in all of our courses. So, for example, just now I was talking to Dr. Tahir Jan. I'm sure that in his course on, for example, internet marketing, he will talk about big data principles, but it will not appear in the transcript, right? What we wanted is the word big data to appear in your transcript so that it catches the attention of the employers, and then you get invited to your job interview. Of course, as a lecturer, I will use some of these ideas, or I'll talk about some of these ideas in some of the other courses. So when I'm talking about OB, I will, talk about big data and how it's changing the workplace and so on and so forth. But really, we wanted a separate course to really help you guys in your opportunities to get the first job. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to highlight. The second thing is the word big data might scare a lot of people. And part of the reason is we assume that it's very technical, okay? But actually, if you understand the way the technology has evolved, a lot of the technological side has been automated. Okay, so for example, I'll give you an example. Last year, no, it wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago, I was invited to attend an internal training that was conducted by IBM, right? I have a very close friend who's got very good contacts in IBM, and he, even though this training was supposed to be only for IBM staff, I was allowed to attend that training. And basically during the one-day workshop, we were just using the mouse, right? And the trainer was explaining to us that a lot of the technical side has been automated. So the programming is now done by machines. We don't need people to program the machines anymore. What we need is people to understand what you can do with the technology and what you cannot do with the technology. And the students who take this course, for example, I expect them to be able to explain to senior managers or to the managers or to the managers' managers what you can do with this technology and where should the company invest. Okay. You're not expected to understand how the technology works. How do you do programming? How do you do this? How do you do that? This is not a technological course. This is a management course. Okay. The main discipline is management. Okay. So once you get over the technological fear, you realize that this is a very powerful tool. And like every powerful tool, you need to know how to use it properly. And maybe you can say there's a lot of technical words which you have to kind of understand. So sometimes people are talking about machine learning. Sometimes people use analytics, predictive analytics, descriptive analytics. So there's a lot of these big words that people use all the time. If you don't understand the background, you look like, honestly, you look like you're an idiot, right? But if you understand the background, even though you don't understand the technology, but you kind of have the overall picture, you can have a good conversation with people, and people will respect you because they will realize you actually know what you're talking about. Okay, so this is a very important issue. A lot of people today who are talking about big data actually don't know what they're talking about. They've just read a few blogs and there's a few words that they like to throw out. Like one of my neighbors, he works for a bank. And sometimes he talks to me about big data and this and that and whatever. And I realized that he doesn't really know what he's talking about. Okay, of course, you're not going to say to him, look, you don't know what you're talking about. But the point is that you realize a lot of people actually don't understand the technology and they don't have the background. And so we want to equip you guys, our students, with that understanding of the background, not again because you're going to be using the technology, is because you're going to explain to other people, this is what we do, this is what we should invest here, we should not invest there, this is not going to work, this is going to work, etc., right? Now, how does big data relate to other technologies such as artificial intelligence, AI, and the other big one that everybody's talking about is blockchain, of course, and then Internet of Things, okay? So big data is the foundation for everything, right? So if you understand big data, then you have the background information to understand AI, Internet of Things, blockchain. If you don't understand big data, again, people are going to be using these words, but you don't actually have the background information to really understand what's going on. Okay, so we want to provide non-technical insights into modern technology, and I want to show my students how you can make this work for you. Okay, so this is maybe a good point to make. Some people are very pro technology, and they assume that technology is going to solve all our problems. And other people are afraid of technology. Okay, I want our students to, first of all, be very clear about their Islamic values, right? That's the first priority. Then second priority, I want you to understand the technology. Because if you understand the technology, but you don't have the right Islamic values, you are going to be manipulating people right, left, and center. There are going to be a lot of ethical issues. If you have the Islamic values and you understand the technology, you will be using the technology for the right reasons. Okay, so one of my friends is working in industry, in the big data industry, and he always asks me this question: why is it we do not use big data for dawah purposes? That's a very good question. That's a very simple project just to start with that. How to use big data to make our dawah more effective. Okay, so that's the second big idea. Now, before we go to anything else, I want to share this. So one of the books that I use is this one, but this is a little bit technical. This is kind of, for me as a lecturer, I need to know some of this stuff, but it's maybe not very convenient for students to read this book. This is a very super simplified version how to make big data understandable for pretty much everybody. And as it happens, today when I was preparing for this webinar, I was looking on for stuff on YouTube, and I came across, hang on a second, I need to share first. I came across this. And so this guy his name is Mur Amir. He's obviously Malay. And he is the author of the book that I just showed. And I know him through a friend. And he actually has agreed to give us signed copies of his book. But really what I want to do is I want to, once the course is started, I'm going to invite him. And so there are 2 or 3 people that I know from industry. So I want to, the first few weeks, kind of give you guys or whoever attends the course a little bit of a background. Then we're going to bring people from industry to see what is happening and kind of share, get their experience. Okay. So if you want to kind of get a feel for what big data is about, how big data is going to transform the world we live in, this is a very good video to watch. It's 14 minutes long, and basically he kind of gives a very nice, simple explanation of how big data is going to change the world, and how, as Muslims, we should not be afraid of big data. We should just figure out how to use it properly. Okay. Let me go to my slides. I've got another couple of slides, and then I can open the floor. Okay, so that's the first, second big idea. The third big idea is data-driven decision-making, right? So the technical people, they're interested in the technical side of big data. As management practitioners and people who are interested in management, we want to use data to make better decisions, okay? If you think about it, the overwhelming majority of management decisions which are being made today are made without any data. That is insane. And the reason why we have been making very critical decisions without any data for so long is because the process of collecting data was very expensive and very tedious. With big data, that whole process can be automated. And so the gold standard will be, we should come to a stage whenever you make a decision, it should always be supported by data. Okay. Now, let's talk about UIA students, because I have had so many discussions with UIA students, and a lot of UIA students are scared. And they're scared because they've read so many stories in newspapers and on blogs and whatever. People cannot get jobs anymore and so on and so forth. That is rubbish. That is rubbish. The overwhelming majority of people who graduate from university get jobs, and they get good jobs. Okay? If you look at the data, that would be your conclusion. But a lot of people on the internet are not in the business of sharing factual information. They're in the business of attracting eyeballs, students, people to watch their content. So for example, I was watching a video on YouTube the other day, and the argument is Bill Gates didn't finish university, Steve Jobs didn't finish university, Elon Musk didn't finish university. So somehow this is supposed to prove that you should drop out of university. That's ridiculous. Okay. But some people are thinking about dropping of university. Why? Because they have developed the habit of making very critical decisions with either no data or very unreliable data. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, as far as I'm concerned, data-driven decision-making is not this vague concept that people are talking about big business. What I would like to do is get my students to develop a mindset where if they're making a decision, they base it on data, right? Like if you're gonna, I've always said this to my students, getting a job in Malaysia is not difficult, okay? But you can try to get a job in a very big, prestigious company, or you can get a job in a normal company. So if you look at the data, getting a job in a prestigious company is very difficult. Why? Because a lot of the prestigious companies are downsizing. But getting a job in a small company is very easy. Okay, so that's one thing, data-driven decision-making. Second thing is, I want people to get used to this idea of storytelling. And virtually, this is where big data is going on or is going towards. Now the technology has been automated. People are now more and more, they understand how to use big data in order to make good decisions. But the challenge of having a lot of data is how do you present this in a simple way, right? How do you use the data to tell a very powerful story? That's a skill. And that's one of the skills I want to explore in the course. Now, so far, I haven't told you what is big data. Okay, so let me give you an example. And I'm taking this example from this book. In 2009, Google developed an algorithm that allowed it to obtain insights on the spread of the H1N1 virus in real time, to the exact town, to the exact street, to the exact house, right? The computers, so think about Google as this huge series of computers. They looked at 450 million mathematical models. That is insane, okay? So if you read the story, the way Google started is, Google has about 3 billion searches every day. 3,000 million, 3 billion searches. They decided to take 50 million search items. 50 million search items, right? So like if you're searching for something on the internet, say where to buy a bike, whatever, they chose 50 million search items. They ended up narrowing it to 48 variables, and they went through 450 million mathematical models. That's like, it's crazy. As lecturers, when we have PhD students, we are struggling. If we have more than 5 variables, we're struggling. To run computer programs and generate 4 or 5 different models, it's difficult. To run 450 million mathematical models and to have models with 48 variables, and this allows you to monitor the spread of a virus literally day by day to the exact town, to the exact street. Like, I live in a taman called Taman Desa Sentosa. There's about 17 or 18 jalan in this taman. Google, using big data, would be able to say to me, there are 3 cases in Jalan 17, 0 cases in Jalan 16, there are 2 cases in Jalan 14. It is that precise. Okay. When you have so much insights, so the technical term in the big data world is insights, which is basically information. You can do incredible things. Okay, so that's the good news. The bad news is that to manage this process, you have to do everything back to front. And that's called back to front management. And I discovered this because I was doing a project with one of my friends who he's a CEO of a big data company in Malaysia. And I met the CEO of one company was interested in big data, and I was kind of the middleman. So I attended the meetings and so on and so forth. And it's like, imagine someone who understands big data, he talks and thinks in a certain way. And then someone else who is a CEO of a company thinks in a completely different way. These 2 people cannot communicate with one another because their way of thinking is completely different. So actually the challenge with big data is not the technology. As I said, the technology is automated. That the technical side, the technical people handle that problem. It's fundamentally a problem of communication. These people see reality in a completely different way. And you, as a student who is going to get into big data, you should be able to understand this person's perspective. You should be able to understand this person's perspective, and you should be able to help these 2 people communicate. Okay, so these are some of the things that I want to do in this course, inshallah. I can go on talking for many minutes, well, many hours actually. I want to stop there. I think I've probably said what I wanted to say. I'm now very happy to answer any questions. Just to summarize very quickly, number 1, this course is designed to help you guys get a job. Okay, so that should be very powerful motivation. Number 2, it's non-technical. So if you're worried that you don't have any programming skill or whatever, that's completely irrelevant. That's not what this course is about. But it will be a challenging course because you are going to have to change the way you think about certain things, right? So big data as a technology forces you to think in a slightly different way. Okay, so I don't know, maybe this is something we can talk a little bit in more detail with Dr. Tahir Jan at a later date. But in big data, there's no more sampling. Right now, if you're in the world of statistics, everything starts with the right sample. Big data, sample goes out the window. Right? So you start thinking in a different way. You start communicating in a different way. You start developing a new language. So it's not challenging from a technical point of view, but from a intellectual point of view, I need to have students who are flexible, who are open-minded, who are willing to learn, and inshallah, it will be a really exciting semester. Okay, so I kind of said what I wanted to say, and I'm eager to, first of all, invite everybody to sign up for the course if you haven't done so, and if it fits with your study plan. So we have adjusted the study plan so that everybody can sign up. And I'm very happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ridhwan Fontaine, for your insightful input. So now we will proceed with the question and answer session. I open the floor to any questions, and I've actually received the first question,
Okay.
which is from Zainab Ilahi. She wants to know whether we can encourage and motivate a person to go to college who thinks that dropouts are successful people and there's no need to attend college. Basically, they're asking how to motivate those people who wants to become.
So, okay, so very often what happens is people who decide that they do not go to college, they have these misunderstandings because of what they read in the on social media. Then they will go and experience what life is really like. So maybe they waste 6 months, they waste a year, and then they will realize, actually, I do need to go to college. See, and I actually asked this to some of my friends in HR. Malaysia is still a society where diplomas are very important, right? So let's say I know everything about big data, but I've not attended a big data course. As far as HR is concerned, you don't know anything about data because you have not attended a course called big data. Okay, so this is sometimes the frustrating thing in Malaysia is people still want that piece of paper. But we are not interested in just giving that piece of paper. We also want the knowledge. But for those people who don't believe, they have to go into the working environment, suffer for a few months, and then they realize, no, I have to go back to study. And by the way, that's not a bad thing to do. Like in the UK, it is very normal for people to not straight away go to university. They believe in taking 1 year out where they experience working life and then before they start their university. So it's just a different way of doing the same thing.
All right, thank you, Doctor. The second question is from Muhammad Arif Najmi. So, yeah. Assalamualaikum, Prof. Who is eligible to take the subject?
Okay, so as far as I know, we did not put any restrictions in terms of who can attend the subject. I assume first year students, no, just focus on your first year courses. Second year students, probably, if they're very interested, why not? So second year, third year students, definitely.
Okay, the next question is from Sister Hannah Ibrahim. So she's a fourth year finals master student. She's asking if she can sign up for the course and is it compulsory for her graduation?
Okay, so it's this is an elective, so it's not compulsory, but definitely she can sign up for the course. So this whole session is to encourage people to sign up for the course because it actually takes quite a lot of work to start a new course because we have to go through different procedures. And we actually got the course approved by Senate only recently. So we're kind of struggling a little bit in terms of time to promote the course before the semester starts. So yeah, anybody can sign up, inshallah.
All right, the next question is from Nusair Nazri. Does this subject is under the majoring department of BBA or is it a department required subject?
No, it's an elective, so it's not a department required subject. Our plan, inshallah, is to teach it or I will teach it for 2 or 3 semesters and kind of get that track record and allow the news to spread amongst BBA students. Hey, this is a good course. And then we're going to think about making it a department requirement. Okay, but that will be inshallah down the line. First, we want to kind of get people excited about big data and have the word spread through the network of BBA students, inshallah. Okay, so the course code is MGT 4331.
Yeah.
MGT right. 4331.
The next question is from Nurul Shahira. She's asking whether or not if there are any prerequisite courses to take the subject.
Okay, so there's no prerequisite. I saw a quick message about this idea of being non-technical. So let me explain this because it's very important. So originally when people think about big data, what they assume is you need to have programming skills or advanced mathematics or advanced statistics, because they get big data confused with data science. Okay, so these are 2 different concepts. Big data for managers is literally you as a management student, you will understand the technology, you will understand the language associated with the technology, and you will understand what the technology can do and what the technology cannot do, right? So one of the misconceptions is AI, for example, can do everything. That is not true. AI is very good for certain things, and it's very bad for other things. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I mentioned earlier that I spent this, so a couple of years ago, I did this training with IBM, and literally during the whole day, the trainer was explaining, this you cannot do, this you can do, this you cannot do, this you cannot do. And he was warning us. He said, people assume AI can do everything. They assume it's like a magic bullet. No. So you as a management student, you need to know, okay, this kind of project, yes, we can do AI. This kind of project, we cannot do AI. So later when you start working, your manager is going to ask you, hey, you have attended this AI course, or sorry, a big data course. So this project, can we do it? And you can say yes, or you can say no. And they will trust you because even though they themselves, they don't understand, they realize you have enough understanding to help them decide what to do, what not to do. Okay, there's another thing that I can maybe share with you. There was a lot of funny stories that they told us doing this course for IBM. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight is that in the big data world, there are some companies that are very, very expensive. And then there are other companies that are very reasonable. So for example, one of my friends is the CEO of a big data company. He can do the same thing that IBM can do at a much lower price, right? So imagine that you are working for a company, they want to do a big data project. They know that you've done a course. And so the manager asks you for your advice. He said, don't go with a big expensive company, waste of money. This company, they have a good track record. They can do the same thing at a much lower price. So that's where your value is. You can help companies who are getting to this kind of projects to actually make the right choices, right? You have to realize if you take this course and you go into the job market, you are going to know certain things about management that virtually nobody else in the company understands, right? Like normally what happens, you start working, everybody knows more than you. You are like, you almost, you want to hide because you know nothing. In this situation, because the technology is so new, they will know nothing. You will know everything. And a lot of your job will be to explain to people, this you can do, this you cannot do. This you can do, this you can do, this you cannot do. And so there will be a lot of communication skills involved. And it will always be the same thing. It will be like, you know, FAQ kind of questions. Can we do this kind of project? No. Can we do this kind of project? Yes. Why? Because of this, 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 this. And then, you know, you'll always be using the same skills all the time. Okay. So IBM Watson, no, you will not be using IBM Watson. IBM actually has got a, okay, so this is an interesting thing. I don't want to go the IBM route, even though IBM is able to provide the technology for free to universities. But one of the things that a lot of people talk about is the power of Excel. So it is much more useful for you as students if you get really, really good at Excel. That's enough. You don't need big Watson. You don't need this, whatever. In fact, if you go back and this is one of the things that I was surprised when I attended this IBM workshop. One of the early tools related to big data is actually SPSS, which we talk a lot about in our courses, right? So you don't need to go to the super expensive Rolls-Royce kind of solution. Start with the basics. But before you get into the technical side, you need to understand the concepts, and then actually what are you trying to do with big data? Because at the end of the day, you are trying to solve a problem. And there's some problems where you don't need a big data solution. Again, sometimes it's a useful tool, sometimes it's not a useful tool. That's one of the things I would like my students to learn, inshallah. Okay, cool.
The questions, I think those are the questions.
Okay. Any more questions? Prof. Hazila has joined us. Assalamualaikum, Prof.
I was in earlier, but I just decided to show my face now.
Okay, Alhamdulillah.
Dr. Ridhwan,
yes.
Just give the student a snapshot of what they're going to study in the whole semester, because I can see that the students are kind of curious to know, like, what are the subheadings or subtopics, not in detail, but generally, like, because it's the whole semester.
Yeah.
So what is your plan for them for the whole semester to see,
okay.
like, of course, the whole semester you cannot just talk about big data. There must be some subheadings or some subtopics that you may touch on.
Correct. So I'm going to start with this book, and this book, the writer is actually one of the leading big data experts at Oxford University. Like, he is the man. And I got this book because the people in the industry advised me to, this is like, if there's one book you have to read, this is the book. And what the author starts by doing is he starts by saying, before we understand big data, we need to understand something called small data. So for your information, all this while, ever since you have been born, you've been living in a small data world. It's just nobody had told you about it. Okay, so I'm going to start with what is small data. In other words, what we are used to, right? So for example, the idea of sampling is something we assume is logical, but it's actually a very new phenomenon, right? And so I'm going to explore a little bit the history of this small data world. Then I'm going to make the transition to big data. Then we're going to start talking about data-driven decision management, which is going to be the overall concepts. Then we're going to talk about the different kinds of analytics. So you can use big data to understand what happened in the past. And then that will allow you to make accurate forecasts of what's coming on or what's happening today in real time. And then not forecasting, but prescriptive analytic. In other words, so this is a little bit kind of a complicated subject, but anyway, I just give you a big picture. The idea of forecasting is you want to know what's going to happen in the future, or at least you want to guess what is likely to happen in the future. In the world of big data, people are not interested in what's going to happen in the future. They want to create the future. So rather than forecasting the future, you want to change the different variables in order to create the future that you want, right? So for example, let's say I'm competing with McDonald's, okay? I don't want to know that McDonald's has got 30% market share or 60% or whatever in 5 years from now. What I want to know is how can I steal market share away from McDonald's? And how can I get, you know, reduce their market share from 30% to 25% and increase my market share by 5%. And so prescriptive analytics will tell you what are the 2 or 3 things you need to do in order to steal market share away from that, right? So we're kind of following that tracks. Now, how quickly I will complete the syllabus will depend on the feedback from the students, right? So whenever you teach a course for the first time, you need to kind of gauge with the students. If they can understand very easily, then you can go much quicker and you can do a lot of things. If they're struggling a little bit, you slow down in order to make sure that, you know, everybody understands and you achieve a successful outcome for everybody. Then the other issue is how to make this applied. So there are different possibilities and I haven't finalized yet. I'm discussing with some friends in the big data world. One of the possibilities is using LinkedIn. So using LinkedIn as a source of data and then playing around with LinkedIn and things like that. So there are a lot of things that are possible, but I kind of need to get to know the students. So normally this is what I do. I get to know the students for the first 2 or 3 weeks. And then depending on what the students are interested, their ability, so I just have this discussion with them. Then I start developing the assignments that would really suit them and also align to the course, inshallah.
Inshallah, thank you. Seems very interesting. Looks like I am also going to join your class.
It would be, honestly speaking, it would be very shocking for you. Because, so this is maybe something that for students, it's not a problem, but for us lecturers, part of it is we are going to have to unlearn a lot of things. So as someone who's very strong in statistics, you have been trained in a certain way.
Small data.
And with big data, you have to unlearn some of the things and learn new things. And that's going to be a shock.
True.
But if you're open-minded, it's not a problem.
I'm very open-minded.
Inshallah. So that'll be very interesting. Okay.
All right. Doctor, there's actually 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
The first question is from Sister Fatima Ilahi. She's asking, she just tried to register for the course through the pre-registration portal. She's a 2nd-year BBAC student.
Okay.
But then, the course is not in her study plan. So are you able to guide her on how to register the subject?
Okay. So that I would have to talk with Dr. Zarina. If she emails me, then I will have a separate discussion with Dr. Zarina, and then I will try to sort that out.
All right. Okay. The final question. How many credit hour is this subject?
So it's a standard 3 credit hour course. And again, it's a really, really good course. I know a lot of you, alhamdulillah, you've already been online for about an hour, so you want to do other things. But the only, as a lecturer, the only frustrating thing is because it's going to be distance learning, there's not going to be the normal interaction that I would hope for in a class environment. But it's okay. We'll work around that. I think that you will benefit enough to appreciate the course, inshallah, and then we'll move forward. Maybe, who knows, halfway through the semester, maybe they'll say, okay, there's enough. COVID is very low, and then they open the university again. I don't know what can happen.
All right. Okay, that was the last question. So once again, thank you to the audience for all the questions, and thank you, Dr. Ridhwan Fontaine, for the informative information. So I will now pass the floor to Professor Hazila for the speech.
Can I just say a few words? I'm very sorry. I completely forgot about the talk today. I have class at the same time. I didn't realize that you were waiting for me. And all the participants, I'm very sorry about this. But I just want to say that this course on big data, this is a course that we try to make courses for the BBA courses. We try to make it relevant to what is needed outside there in the industry. And big data is definitely, if you take this course, this is going to be very good for in terms of employability. I think Dr. Siti Sawani mentioned that when she was looking for something for her children, many organizations were looking for big data, because that is the way it is now. Yeah, small data is when we do all the sampling statistics, but because of the internet, the internet has made all the data accessible. So now it becomes big data. Yeah. So if you take this course, I would say the participants here, your chance of in terms of employability is much better, because the course is very relevant to what is required in the industry. Yeah. So that's why we add this new course to the BBA program. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Professor Hazila. So we have now come to the end of the event. Thus, I would like to once again express my deepest gratitude to our speaker for today, Dr. Ridhwan Fontaine, for your outstanding and beneficial inputs for today's webinar session. I'd also like to thank Dr. Tahir and Professor Hazila for attending today's webinar session. And I am sure we have all benefited a lot from the speech given. And we would also like to thank all our audience for sparing your time and joining us for today's discussion.
Yep.
We will conclude our session today with Tasbih Kifara and Surah Al-As. Okay, that marks the end of our webinar session on big data for managers. I would like to sincerely apologize for all my shortcomings as the MC for today's event. That is all from me, Zihra Nur Irfan now. Thank you, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.